Remember that show Courage the Cowardly Dog? It was a cartoon about an easily scared dog that lived with his elderly owners, Eustace and Muriel. It was known for being scary and always having dark themes. Everybody seemed to like it. Sadly, the show ended in 2002, but became a cult classic amongst children and past viewers. A couple years back, Cartoon Network started production on a revival of the show since fans demanded it to come back. At the time, I was part of the animation team they chose to bring it back to life. Our first task was to go through a box of every single episode of the show, as well as a few unreleased ones. They wanted to make sure we knew how to capture the vibe of the show. Armed with a few cans of Monster and enough snacks to keep Doritos in business for a long time, we plowed through episode after episode. After a few hours we made it into the night, about 3 a.m. to be exact. Sifting through the box we found a VHS tape that read, "Pool Party." We stuck it in the VCR player, rewound it, and then pressed play. It started out somewhat normal, except there was no intro. It just immediately started. There was also something off about the animation. It seemed like it was done in a very sloppy way, except for the eyes of Courage. His eyes were straight black, with the speck of red in the middle. But we shrugged it off, figuring it was just an unreleased episode. It showed all three of them in the living room. There wasn't any music like most of the episodes. Eustace sat flipping through the stations on the TV. Then there was a knock at the door. Courage went to answer. A construction man stood there, and he mumbled something that we didn't make out to be English, but Courage acted as if he understood it perfectly. He followed the man to the backyard, where they were digging to build a pool. Once they finished digging, you could see dead bodies inside. They weren't drawn either. It was as if the animators took actual pictures of dead bodies and put them over the animation. They then proceeded to fill the pool with cement, covering the bodies. After that, they filled it with water. Static appeared, then showed them all playing in the pool as if it was all normal. Static came again, then it just showed them all standing there in the pool, staring into the screen. A girl's voice, about 5 or 6, appeared and started singing some sort of lullaby. There wasn't anything else playing, it was just her voice. This went on for about 3 minutes. It wasn't a picture held for several minutes, it was actually animated. The water in the pool moved the entire time, and their eyes blinked throughout as well. Then static again. This was where it started to get disturbing. It cut to Eustace, Muriel, and Courage all sitting in the living room of the house, with their throats slit. There was a pool of blood surrounding their bodies, an almost unrealistic amount. The girl was still singing that song. This went on for about 2 minutes. The staff and I all looked at each other, dumbfounded. Then we heard footsteps coming from the stairs in the house. It was a tall figure with long black hair covering its face. It slowly walked down the steps, then stared into the screen. More static. My heart started to race. The figure then opened its mouth and let out a blood-curdling scream, piercing our eardrums. "Oh God, make it stop, make it stop!" one of my coworkers pleaded. I pressed the eject button on the VCR, but nothing happened. I hit the power button on the TV, nothing. Just a tall demonic figure screaming, with the beloved characters surrounding it with their throats sliced. Then suddenly everything stopped. The screen went black. We all sort of sat there, hoping that was it. Static hit again, causing us to jump out of our seats. Then a pentagram slowly faded in. Then it started to light on fire. The girl had stopped singing. There was no sound at all, not even the sound of the flame. Then it ended. The tape popped out, and we all sat there horrified. The next day I phoned up the creator of the show. I referred to him as Mr. Dilworth, and asked him if he knew anything about this episode. Almost instantly, he hung up. The very next week, the executives at Cartoon Network ceased production on the revival, and we were told to shut down the office. To this day, I can't get that image out of my head. The slit throats of Eustace and Muriel, and that thing